Thank you, Susan. And now if you'd all join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. You know, that's the problem when you hire an orchestra by the day, they just want to keep playing. And thank you to everyone who helped with the setup for today's meeting, to Andrew and Kathy and Aris and Sarah, who acted as greeters. Bhavan, who is going to be our Sergeant at Arms. Janice for selling raffle tickets and books. And I think based on Janice's performance, we'll figure out something for her to sell every week. And also to Susan for working our AV today and also working as a scribe for this meeting. And last but not least, to our paparazzi, Jim Tucker, for today. Do we have any guests or visiting Rotarians today? Bhavan, if you could take the microphone over to our guests.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joan Murdoch, and I have my partner, Ruth Jasinski, with me. She's my nurse. She's a retired nurse. And as you know, I've had a lot of stuff, so she takes care of me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Today, I have the privilege of having my friend Jordan H. He's visiting from Salt Lake. He's actually out here training to take over some Cane's chicken. So, there you go.
Thank you.
Hello, Rotarians. My name is Kathy Dalvey, and today I have 1.5 guests. I have my son, Maxwell Dalvey, and I have my other son who is visiting via Zoom, David, up there. And so, thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Ballard, President-elect. Glad to be here. I've got 2 guests visiting from Dallas, Texas. They're helping me with some affordable housing projects I'm working on. Bill Fisher and JOG.
Austin forgot one of his guests, and this is Elise Ward, his mother.
Everybody stop yelling.
And Bhavan, if you could take the microphone over to our speaker, brought 2 guests with him, and perhaps they could stand up and introduce themselves. Or they could have me butcher their names, but I think it's probably better to.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tiva Parks. I'm here representing Jack for Jennifer Barrier Group, but I own Connect Central. We partner up on PR marketing and consulting.
Thank you. And
yes, I'm Roel Ternat. I also here working with Jack on behalf of JC Barrier Group, and It's great to be here. We do marketing, PR, and government relations work. So that's about all I've got for now.
Thank you. And do we have any visiting Rotarians? Seeing none, can I have a big round of applause for all of our guests? And since this is the first meeting of the month in March, I'm guessing we have a birthday table somewhere? All right. So if Mr. Tucker, if you would take the microphone to everyone at the birthday table and allow them to introduce themselves and, I'm sorry, take photographs of everybody at the table.
Hi, I'm Rose Falaco, and I've been a Rotarian for 20 years. My first club was Westlake Village Sunrise, 7 o'clock in the morning on a Friday morning at North Ranch Country Club. And then I moved out here and came to this wonderful club, and here I am. I love my Rotary family, and great to be here.
When's your birthday?
Oh, my birthday was 2 days ago, and I'm 39 for the second decade.
Oh, okay. Hi, Jim Tucker. I've been a member since 1992. I was president of the 25 Club, president of the club in 2003. And I'm happy to be here, and I really enjoy all the fellowship with fellow Rotarians.
And your birthday.
And my birthday is March 23rd. I'll be 75.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Kruger. It's not my birthday today, but it is this month on the 21st. I first joined Rotary Club when we used to meet at the old DI in the at one time. And unfortunately, or fortunate in some ways, I did projects all over the world, mostly nuclear power plants, airports, highways, bridges, large construction jobs, $9.3 billion job for Chevron when they did a retrofit and expansion of their world's largest refinery. And it was a really good company to work for. And I enjoyed the work. And I actually graduated, excuse me, from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. Thank you.
Brian Sorrentino joined this fabulous club in 2018, so I'm on my third year here. It's been wonderful and getting tons of benefits spiritually, emotionally, and giving a ton to the club. So get involved if you're not in as much as you can. My birthday is March 30th, and I will be 53.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Goldsmith. I have been a member of the most fabulous Rotary Club in the universe for 7 years. I am the president of the Southern Nevada Safety Officer Award Recognition Program, and I'm also the advisor for the 25 Club. So any of you new Rotarians, if you have questions, you are welcome to reach out to me. And on March 27th, I will be 45.
And Bhavan, I think Michael you have a birthday this month, don't you? No, Michael Williams? I'm sorry, wrong Williams. Sorry. But we have one, I think, up on this. Where? Where's, right there?
We have one more birthday.
Oh. Well, you can share real quick.
Hi, I'm Sarah Thornton. I have been a member of Rotary for 1 month, and I didn't know about the birthday. Actually, I probably did know, and I forgot. Mike said he would pay the fine.
Right. And I think up on the screen, I see some birthday people as well. Karen, did you want to unmute yourself and tell us about your birthday?
Hi, everyone. I miss you all. My birthday is tomorrow, and I remember, I'm not going to tell you how old I am.
I think
But
either you're muted or we're not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Karen Wisenhunt, and my birthday is tomorrow. And I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'll just say that one time when I would turn 40 in my previous club, I said to the Rotarians that I was finally old enough to be a Rotarian. I've been in Rotary now for 27 years, 19 of which have been in this club. And it was my great honor to serve as president in 2009, 2010. And I've missed you all over this last year, but I'm looking forward to coming back real soon.
Thank you. Now, I know we're trying to avoid singing and spreading the virus, but we make an exception each month for happy birthday. And so if you would join me in singing happy birthday to all our Rotarians. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you. And Mike, I think we'll let you off the hook because of the limited seating. There wasn't enough room. So I can't in good conscience fine you. But thank you for volunteering to be fined. Kathy Dalvey, would you? And, oh, Kim, Naomi. Sorry, Kim, I didn't see you hiding back there.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. So today, as customary, we like to recognize members of our club who have made a contribution to Rotary International Foundation and have attained a Paul Harris status, which recognizes your cumulative giving to Rotary International programs. So today we have a special sort of announcement and celebration. I would like to bring in past President Kathy Dalvey to say a few words, and we'll do the presentation.
Today, it gives me great pleasure to honor a Paul Harris Fellow on my two sons, David and Maxwell. They have participated in Rotary all their lives. When Max, right here, was 5 years old, and David, who's on the screen over there in the glasses, was 11, they attended the Rotary International Convention in Brisbane, Australia. They toured Australia with District 5300 and the district governor. They have both, and you were with us too. They have both attended TLC, Teen Leadership Camp, and RILA, Rotary Youth Leadership Award. And they have both been very active with the German soccer team, Borussia Mönchengladbach, in driving, entertaining, feeding, and Max's once-a-year trip to the top of the big shop. David has gone on several Rotary ski trips, including staying at Annie Nunes' condo, and his roommate was Jerry Engvall. Jerry? And his roommate was Jerry. David was about 19, and Jerry got him up to do yoga before they went skiing. David was pretty surprised at that, but he said, oh, if a 70-year-old can still go skiing, I guess this yoga is a great thing. So it's been, our club even went to a social at Spring Mountain Ranch Theater when Max was performing in Bye Bye Birdie. Quite a few years ago, a longtime member of this club, Danny Russell, came up to me and said, I know your son David is in Boy Scouts, and I'm putting together a Boy Scout trip to go to the Jamboree in Fort A.P. Hill. David went with that troop and had a fabulous time. Max has been to quite a few socials, alpine picnics and cigar socials. They have volunteered many times with Rotary, hauling canned goods, grading science fair projects, planting and painting at Bracken, Soul Power Shoe Kids, and their favorite, every single year that they can, Santa Claus. As far as what they're doing now, David is an information technology specialist with RJ Alliance, loves his job solving computer programs. He is engaged to be married to Amanda Mitchell in November. And you guessed it, Amanda Mitchell has been to every single Santa Claus she can since they met. And Max, the reason that I'm doing this today is because Max enlisted in the Navy. Sorry, guys. And decided to do electronics on submarines, and he will leave Monday. Thank you, Kim.
Sorry, mask problems. So without further ado, we want to first recognize David in cyberspace with a his initial Paul Harris Fellowship. There you go, David. Virtual. Then we want to recognize Max Dalvey as well for his first Paul Harris Fellowship and wish him all the best as he serve our nation.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Oh, with David. Oh, we're
And Karen Wisenhunt, if you could try unmuting yourself again.
Okay, are we on this time?
Yeah, if you could update us on our global grant to Russia.
Okay, I sure can. It's some of you may recall the visit we had by a wonderful group of ladies from the Ukraine back in October of 2019 as part of the Open World Program. For our newer members, the Open World Program is an international program funded by the Library of Congress and administered by Rotary clubs around the world. We work with emerging nations, primarily in Eurasia. The hope is to advance peace through trust and friendships while providing insight into their professions. There are various themes within the Rotary or the Open World Program. Our all-female team from the Ukraine were educators focusing on children with special needs, primarily autism. The team consisted of 5 delegates, 1 facilitator, and 1 translator. While they were in Las Vegas, we arranged for various intense week of professional appointments mixed with cultural and social activities. The ladies were hosted by Rotarians in their homes and shuttled around from appointment to appointment by Rotarians. It was a busy week, but an amazing week. In addition to learning about their professions, the ladies also learned a lot about our Rotary world and the opportunities for future endeavors. Let me tell you, these dynamic ladies, they were on fire. At the debriefing meeting, they wanted to know what they should do with their newfound knowledge. After a long discussion, we said, go back and make a difference with the lives of the children. Well, they did just that. 1 delegate was already a Rotarian, and 2 others have since joined Rotary. They went straight to work coming up with a project to help the children. Today, I am happy to report that we have submitted an application to the Rotary Foundation for a global grant with the Rotary Club of Poltava, Ukraine. Both past President Jackie and President Richard put forward $5,000 each for a total of $10,000. Now, this is how it works, Rotarians. Those funds are matched by the district and then by Rotary International. For our $10,000 contribution, it now becomes $30,000 towards the grant. The Rotary Club in the Ukraine came up with matching funds as well, and they also partnered with local organizations for the grant. The application submitted to the Rotary Foundation is a total of $45,000. This is the magic of matching funds with Rotary and how far we can stretch our dollars. But it didn't stop there. In addition, the ladies have applied for an additional $25,000 grant called the Hearts of Europe grant. This is a new grant available in Eurasia in partnership with the US and administered through Rotary. The two grants total $70,000 and will provide 3 sensory training rooms and equipment for autistic children, sandboxes for therapy, and extensive education through partnerships for the teachers and the parents of the children. In total, 1,400 autistic children will benefit from this program and from the grant. So I would like to thank you, the members of our club, for your contributions to the Rotary Foundation. Thank you for making a difference in the lives of children.
And thank you, Karen. And looking around the room, I see quite a few people are trying to figure out how they can leverage $5,000 to a $75,000 grant for their business. So I'm sure you'll get some phone calls from them. While we're on the Zoom screen, Marie, there you are. Marie, can you give us an update on Breakfast with Books?
Okay. Breakfast with Books. We had a reading program this week. People came from Rotary to read to the children, and it has been very successful. Thank you all who have read to the children and who are going to read to the children. As far as our being together for Breakfast with Books, we're still waiting to see what we can do about it. We haven't had any news from Spread the Word yet. We're hoping to get back a little bit at the time, but I don't have any news for you. I hope I will be able to give you a little more information in the near future. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Tina. Thank you, Marie, excuse me. And since Tina is not here today, I will whine at you. I'm not going to complain. I'm only going to whine and tell you that if you haven't already done so, our virtual wine tasting event on March 24th, I believe you can still sign up, but you need to today is the last day, apparently. So if you were thinking about signing up for our virtual wine tasting event on March 24th, please respond to Tina or to Sean today. That would be the cutoff because we have to order the wine and have it shipped to your address. And with that, please enjoy a few minutes of fellowship before our speaker starts. Whoops. I'm sorry, Rose, did you have an announcement?
I just want to remind everybody about our 25 Club Mixer tonight, right here at Lowry's in the lounge, 6 o'clock. Everyone is welcome, and it's going to be our first one of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Well, you know what, while I've interrupted everybody, let's do the raffle drawing for this week. So the winning ticket to draw for the Joker would be 5311181. All right, Brian, come on down. You get a- And for the Lowry Bucks, the winning ticket is 531170. 531170. Five, 531170 for $50 in Lowry Bucks. 70. Well, there's no prize for being dyslexic. Sorry. Let's try this one. 5311-086. Smile for the camera. All right, so now we'll go back to a few minutes of fellowship before our speaker starts.
Okay, I'm going to cut off Stu. Thank you. And I'll sign back on probably about 5 minutes or so.
Okay, I'll be watching.
Thanks, bud. See you in a
Yeah,
bit.
Jim Cole just joined us too. Hello, Jim. God, I heard her
Hi,
mention
Jim.
the Boy Scout troop to Fort AP Hill when my son was 12. I was an assistant scout leader, and we did the jamboree there. It was probably the most unpleasant weather, but the nicest event that I ever attended. The temperature during the day was well over 100, and it got down in the 60s at night. And there were thunderstorms about every third day that would level the tents in the camp. So it was a real experience for the scouts and survival, but kind of a miserable place to be weather-wise.
Well, David, your mother made me cry.
Yeah.
Max leaving on Monday. Yeah, I know how tough that is.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be good for him.
Yeah, it's great. It's great for him to get some direction. And boy, when he decided, he was good.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, he even moved it up from when he should have left. Because I think he was supposed to leave in May and he just wanted to get going.
I know it. I remember her telling me it was going to be May.
Yeah.
So
Where did they go? Is it Groton, Connecticut that they leave from, or?
I think Max told me there's but then the next year he's going to be in a whole bunch of different places. And so I don't really remember the order of where he's going. So I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, they have a big sub base there that also they have a museum, which is kind of neat. You take a tour of an audio tour of the submarine. They give you a little pocket receiver and headphones, and as you walk throughout each of the different compartments, it tells you about what's going on and how it's set up. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's about as much of a hanging out in a submarine that I think I could do as one day in a museum. But yeah, he's signed up for a while.
Dave, do you know how long he's going to be gone for his training?
I do not. He said he should be back for the wedding, but I kind of told him, if you can only do what you can do, so I don't really know. Is
Well, I
somebody at
wonder-
a ski resort? Yeah.
Jim Cole at a party there. He's not talking. He's just he's just teasing us with being at a very pleasant location somewhere.
Hey guys, greetings from Snowbird. Hi guys.
Hi Jim,
Hey.
where are you?
Snowbird. Utah.
Lucky.
Hey, Jim, how many past presidents do you have at that meeting?
It's so loud we can't really hear you guys what you're saying.
I can tell there's more than one member there at that meeting, Jim.
Yeah, 3 of us. Yeah, we're doing a makeup.
Well, a past president can call a meeting anywhere there's one or more Rotarians, so.
That's right. That's right. We're fishing. We're getting credit for this one.
Some skiing going on there. Kirk Holmes just joined us from somewhere in the Ethernet.
Speaker's going, but I have to hold it out here.
Who else is with Jim Cole? Can we tell?
You're looking. Thank you.
A little dark.
So yep, we got Dan and Kirk, and then one of my partners is here as well. Hello.
So are we on the verge of getting back to normal yet? Seems to be happening with all the venues opening up and live entertainment showing up again. And
Yeah, we're pretty close. So a couple months. Hey, we're gonna punch out. We're gonna go back and do some skiing, but it's really good to see everybody.
Have fun. Gina, how are you doing? Oh, she ducked out too, huh?
on the screen, but not talking.
Yeah.
I
my
can't
wife-
wait till we all sit in the room together again.
Well, I guess there's enough vaccine rolling into town that it shouldn't be long yet. They keep talking about having enough for everybody by the end of summer, maybe as early as May. The real problem is there's 30% of the people apparently who are eligible who say they won't take it no matter what.
Yeah, Sheriff Joe yesterday said that 60% of the police force have not taken it and are not going to take it.
Wow, that's a big percentage.
Yeah, I think they're mainly young though and fairly low risk. The problem is that if you don't get all these people immune, they still can spread it to others, and you can't really kill the virus out completely until everybody's really vaccinated. They say like 70, 80%. I think they should make it a condition of employment if you're working in a job that's in the public sector or requires a state license, like a manicurist or beauty parlor operator or dentist or somebody like that.
Oh, we're
They're
back
Looks
on.
like the meeting started.
Okay.
And my father always resisted. The stories were about some very colorful people in Las Vegas. And the reason he was so successful in his life is because he won their confidences. He had their trust. And he felt that it would be improper to tell stories about people. Finally, we got to the point, he's in his mid-80s, and I sat him down and said, I've got the perfect person to do this book on these stories. So the first thing is, I just want you to sit down with Jack Sheehan and chat with him. And if you don't feel comfortable, I won't talk to you about it anymore. And then the second deal is you have the final rights to the draft and you can take anything out that you want to. So I lined up Jack to come over and sit down with my dad. And within about 20 minutes, they were buddies and the book went forward. And the last point is my dad never edited a single word out of that book. Jack was so true to form in taking very delicate information and putting it in a respectful, interesting, and upbeat format that we were very pleased with the outcome of it. And I'm sure that is why Jack has written books for so many people who know the history of this town. He's basically covered the entire time, except for those that he couldn't talk to because they were no longer around. So I'm pleased to introduce my good friend, Jack Sheehan.
I'm taking this mask off for two reasons. So Bob Warner will recognize me because I know his memory is going quickly. He screamed out my name the minute I walked in the room, so there was no hiding. And also because I've had both shots. Thank you. First one took 3.5 hours. Second one took 15 minutes. I guess it's just who's got their stuff together. Oh, that's me. Holy smokes. So I've been in. Now, which one goes forward? This one right here? Perfect. Okay. Everybody hear me okay? Okay. So real quickly, I've been in Las Vegas 45 years. Like so many people, I came here for a week or two and never left. The weather, the women, the opportunities, the fact that it was a semi-illiterate city, all appealed to me because I knew I wanted to be a writer. And if I go to LA, there's 5 million writers. So I came here and I read both newspapers and they were horrible. And I thought, I can compete here. This isn't above my pay grade. And I'm kidding about that because I've been a columnist for both papers through the years. But, you know, I ran out of money about 2 weeks after I got here. I thought I was going to win a lot on the golf course. And I realized quickly that Las Vegas has more golf hustlers than any place in the world. So I was getting clipped pretty good. And I ended up dealing blackjack at the Four Queens on the late swing shift for 3 months, and then got hired at UNLV to teach writing and literature. That's an odd double job. You're dealing with people who have never spoken a complete sentence in their life, and you're teaching the rules of grammar and punctuation to eager 18 to 20-year-olds. But all those experiences were wonderful, and they kind of fed into the writing career I've enjoyed really since I got here. One addition to Tom's story, when I sat down with Perry, and Peggy was there as well, Tom knew that this was a delicate meeting because his dad was anti-interview. And I'd done a lot of homework. Of course, I knew who Perry Thomas was, and I'd heard a million stories about his involvement in the community through the years. But I did more homework before the meeting, and I sat down. And once Mr. Thomas, he opened the meeting, and he did two things I remember distinctly. He stood up and he shook my hand, looked me right in the eye, and he said, "Jack, it's great to meet you again." I'd never met him, but it was a great gesture because it made me feel comfortable right off the bat. So now I tell people all the time, it's great to see you again, whether I just met him on the street corner, or it's a kind of a disarming little tactic. And I learned it from Perry. And the next thing he said is, "I think this is a horrible idea." And I said, "Well, why is that?" And for the reasons Tom said, he dealt with a lot of people that had reputations and backgrounds, and in some cases, criminal records. And the last thing he wanted to do was, as he said, blab my gums about these wonderful clients that we had at Valley Bank through the years. So he said, "Well, like, what would you ask me?" And I think that meeting lasted a full 2 hours. And it was just an informal conversation. I didn't take a note. I didn't turn on a recorder. But he saw that I knew a lot about his history in Las Vegas, his relationships with people whose names we all know. And when it ended, he said, "I rather enjoyed this. When can we meet again?" And I knew then that we were off and running. The book took about a year and a half. His extremely gifted brother, Roger, the great designer, designed the cover. Perry, of course, insisted his picture not be on the cover of the book. That just was his nature. But we got some really neat pictures inside. And for those who did buy a book or stole one off the front table, I would be happy to sign it for you before the day is over. Okay, if I don't hit the wrong button. All right. So what am I going to say about Wayne Gretzky? So all these stories today, there's really 4 topics I'm going to cover. And they all, interestingly enough, are connected to my life as a golfer. Golf kind of sustained me through high school and college and got me dates I never would have gotten otherwise, even before Tiger Woods made a nerdy sport cool. Being the #1 man on my golf team in high school had no status outside of the Sheehan household. My dad was a golfer and he was very proud of that. And when I got a golf scholarship to the University of Oregon, he was tickled with that. But it didn't have a lot of status in the world. And Tiger, I hope he heals quickly, changed a lot of that. But in the early 90s, I got a call from Golf Magazine. I'd already published a couple national golf books. One of them, thank goodness, made the New York Times bestseller list, a book called Buried Lies that I wrote in 92 or 93. And Golf Magazine called me from New York in 94. And they said, "We've got a really cherry job for you. We want you to arrange golf games with famous people, play 18 holes with them. And in your article, describe them as a person, whether they're fun to play with, whether they're quick tempered, whether they are good golfers, bad golfers, their love of the game, the whole thing." So it was a personality profile done over 18 holes. And the title of the series was 18 Holes With. And one of the first games I arranged was with the great hockey player, Wayne Gretzky. He was then with the Los Angeles Kings. It was 1994 in August. And the date of that game is important, as you'll understand in a second. And so I flew over to LA, and it was one of those god-awful LA days where the air is brown and you're sticky. And at the end of 9 holes, your golf shirt, it's hermetically sealed to your chest because it's just a horrible day to play golf. But Wayne was a delight. He showed up early for the game. I always would show up early for these games, and I got to play with some pretty neat people. Sean Connery, Joe Pesci, President Bush, the father, H.W., Jane Seymour, Matthew McConaughey. My wife still hasn't gotten over Sean Connery, even though he had just played King Arthur in a movie called Camelot, where Richard Gere played the prince, played who? Lancelot. Thank you. And he had a big beard and everything. And I remember eating lunch with him before the game at Sherwood Country Club in LA. And he wasn't really that accustomed to the beard because half of his lunch was in the beard by the end of the lunch, and I almost wanted to reach over and pick the crackers out of his beard. But my wife couldn't take her eyes off him. And when we left, she said, I never thought I'd fall in love with a 70-year-old man, but I just can't get him out of my head. But he was also delightful. So on this day you'll find that I digress a lot. Sorry about that. So the game with Wayne, that picture on the left obviously was taken that day. My shirt, I couldn't get off without a steam iron. And we finished the 18 holes, and Wayne drank about 11 beers in the 18 holes. And the reason he showed up early for the interview in the golf game was he said, Jack, I like to drink a lot of beer on the golf course. I know you need an interview, so let's sit down in the locker room. We'll get the interview done. Then we'll go play golf and drink beer. And I said, works for me. And we played with two other hockey players. One was Russ Courtnall, who missed a putt on one hole and gave it a slap shot and just about took my left eye out as the ball went flying by my head. It's a warning sign. Don't play golf with hockey players, because if they get mad, it gets ugly fast. So we finished the round and we had a great time, and Wayne was just a hoot, and I could tell he was about half buzzed. And we're in the grill room at Sherwood Country Club, which is very exclusive. It's like Shadow Creek or the Summit Club here in Vegas. You have to go through about 3 different security people to get into the grill room. And we're sitting there talking, and I've gotten all the information I need for the article. But of course, the only thing on television that day was the O.J. Simpson preliminary hearings, August 1994. The murders of Nicole and Ron Goldman took place in June, I believe June 16th or 17th of 94. This is 2 months in, and everything on TV was O.J. Simpson, the preliminary hearings. And I knew that O.J. Simpson was also a member of Sherwood Country Club, the course we were at right that day. And so was Russ Courtnall, Wayne, and the other member of our group, who happened to be the club champion of Sherwood. So I said, guys, I'm not going to write about this, but I'm just curious. How many of you, and we're the only ones in this grill room other than the bartender, said, how many, you guys all know O.J. Simpson, how many of them you guys think he killed his wife and Ron Goldman? Every hand went straight up, including the bartender. He was eavesdropping on the conversation. So here are 4 different people that know O.J. Simpson well, and they all say there's no question, absolutely no question. So as we're sitting there, Wayne keeps looking over at me and he says, you want a great story? And I said, well, I think I already got one. This is wonderful, Wayne. You couldn't have been nicer. No. He says, you want a life-changing story? I don't know. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. What do you have in mind? There couldn't be a better place for him to hide that Swiss hunting knife than in his locker here, because nobody gets in that locker room. I'm looking around, I'm thinking, whoa, the greatest hockey player of all time wants me to go into a very secluded locker room and look for a murder weapon in the crime of the century. Do I want to go or not? Of course, I said yes. And he took me back there, and the older gentleman who was the locker room attendant said, Wayne, who's this guy? Members only. And Wayne goes, Charlie, he's a friend of mine. This guy's gold. Charlie goes, okay, Wayne. So now I'm in the locker room that I otherwise wouldn't have gotten in. And Wayne goes, you go to the left side, I'll go to the right side. We got to find OJ's locker. I'm thinking he's serious. And so he's over on one side of the locker room, I'm over on the other. And of course, I find the locker. I find O.J. Simpson's locker before he does. I call him over. He has golf shoes off. He just had socks on. He's still an active player in the National Hockey League, had broken every record known to man, but he had 2 or 3 years left in his career. And I go, "Are you going to bust this thing open?" He goes, "Hell yes." And it didn't have a key lock. It just kind of had a semi bolt lock, but you could pop it open. And I wasn't going to touch it. And I remember standing there thinking, do I want that knife to be in there or not? And I was really torn. If it's in there, it's going to change my life and interrupt the next couple of years of my life because I'm going to be depositioned. I'm going to be brought into a courtroom. Why were you in that locker room? You found the murder weapon in the crime of the century. And if I blame it all on Wayne, it's going to come right back on me. I'm the reporter, writer. And needless to say, you would have heard about it if the knife was in there. But Wayne popped that locker open, and the only thing that was in there was dirty socks and gloves and golf balls and stuff. But I remember thinking, even to this day, I'm not sure whether I wish that knife had been in there. And I'm pretty sure I'm glad it wasn't. But I told Wayne, he said, "That's a pretty good story, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not sure Golf Magazine is interested in that, in that part of the story, but thanks for sharing." And I ended up playing golf with him in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho years later. And I walked up to him on the driving range. The only time I'd ever met him was in LA that day. And he goes, "How do I know you?" And I said, "I'm not going to tell you. See if you can guess." He looked at me and he goes, "OJ." Right on. All right. So there's the Wayne Gretzky story. That's not what you were expecting. So this golf game with President Bush, 2 years out of office. Clinton had beat him in the election 2 years before. That's out at Shadow Creek. And so it was March of 1995. And George and Barbara Bush were house guests of Stephen Lane Wynn on that beautiful house they had on the 18th fairway. And this was part of that same series. I called Golf Magazine. I said, "Well, I only got 2 days notice, but I can get a golf game with President Bush." They go, "That's awesome. Go do it." I had to find a photographer. We went out and just had a wonderful day. And after we played 18 holes, Mrs. Bush met us for lunch on the veranda at Shadow Creek. And corny sense of humor, she said, the waitress asked me what I would like for lunch, and President Bush was on my right, she was on my left, and I said, "Can I get a broccoli sandwich?" Does anybody get that? President Bush had said at some point in a press conference that growing up he hated broccoli, and all the broccoli farmers of America, protested against him and everything else. And Barbara just started laughing. He looked at me and go, "You're not serious, are you?" I said, "Of course not." So my apologies. And they didn't have that on the menu anyway. But during the round, something happened that was pretty funny. So we're on the 5th hole at Shadow Creek, which is a par 3 in which about a 200-yard hole. And Steve and Tom Fazio, who designed the golf course, had basically built a forest between the tee and the green. And it was just a big ravine, and they must have put 500 trees in there. So you're driving over a forest to this beautiful green on this par 3 hole. And President Bush was my partner, and the other team was Steve Wynn and Sig Rogich. And we're playing for, a beer or something, but it's competitive. Those guys don't like to lose. President Bush and I don't like to lose. So it's kind of tight-lipped, and we're grinding real hard. And President Bush says, "What do you think I ought to hit here?" And he had a little 5-wood. For those who play golf, it's a fairway club that you use. You can use out of the rough or on the fairway. And he hit that club about 210 yards. He said, "Should I hit a 4-iron?" I'm thinking, you're not going to get over the trees if you hit a 4-iron. That's not enough club. Hit the 5-wood. And then he said, "Where should I aim it?" I'm doing a lot of coaching during this round. I said, "Aim it on the left side of the green because the green's kind of sloping left to right, and it falls down into Shadow Creek, which is a man-made creek. In fact, most of the rocks in that creek were manufactured. Probably Roger worked on them. There were real rocks and there were faux rocks. And the faux rocks were designed strictly for aesthetic value. If Steve would look through that camera that he used, because he had visual impairment, He would decide, no, I need a gray rock there and I need a big jagged rock here. And so they would build rocks to put next to real rocks in the creek. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. When the course was built, it was 47 million. It was the most expensive golf course ever built in the United States when it opened in 1989. And it's still a magnificent top 50 golf course in the country. So President Bush kind of grumbled. He wanted to hit the 4-iron, but I talked him into hit the 5-wood. And I said, aim it on the left side because you tend to hit a banana ball, a slice to the right. And if it goes to the pin or further right, it's probably going to slide down off the green into Shadow Creek. So of course, I put that horrible thought in his mind, and he immediately hit a big banana ball that landed in the middle of the green and rolled down to the right and off the edge down into the creek. Now there's 2 Secret Service guys that accompany us for the round. This had to be the easiest day they ever had on the job because number one, you can't get into Shadow Creek without going through all sorts of security like Sherwood Country Club. And it's a beautiful day and they're just walking around the golf course. And as we're riding up in the cart, President Bush says, you think it's in the creek? And I said, sir, I'm 99.9% certain it's in the water. He goes, I'm getting the ball. I said, no, don't worry about it. You just drop one off to the side and add a penalty stroke. I don't lose balls, Jack. Yes, sir. So we get up there and I'm looking at my putt. And the next thing I know, President Bush goes down over the edge and it's steep and the grass is still wet. It's like 9 in the morning. The grass is still dewy. And I'm thinking, this is not good. And the Secret Service guys are looking over and they don't see him either. And they said, where's the president? I said, he wanted to get his ball out of the creek. And they said, was it steep? And I said, yeah, it is. One of them goes, eagle down, eagle down. I'm going, wow, this is right out of a Clint Eastwood movie. We got the rescue of a former president who drowned playing with some schmuck writer from Las Vegas on a meaningless article for a golf magazine. But the funny part is he's wearing Dockers. He's very, low fashion. And he comes up about 45 seconds later with the Secret Service guy standing there worried. And he's got 4 balls in his hand. And he goes, I found mine and 3 others and 2 of them are Titleist. That's awesome. And I said, sir, that might be because nobody else goes after their ball in that creek. So then I have to add this part. So we play about 7, 8, well, no, we get to the 15th hole. I'm walking next to Steve Wynn down the fairway and Steve says, Jack, what time is it? I looked at my watch and I said, it's 5 to noon. He goes, pay real close attention. We have a surprise for the president. I'm thinking, wow, I've already been surprised when he almost died going in the creek. And all of a sudden, then the ground just started to rumble. I mean, I thought we're having an earthquake. Here they come, 4 Thunderbirds, about 100 yards over our head. It was the loudest thing I've ever seen in my life. I think they call that the Delta formation. And then one of them peeled off, and then they had 3 with the triangle formation, and then 2. They made 3 passes over our head. It was deafening. The ground was rumbling, and they dipped their wings to honor the president. I'll tell you, I get choked up thinking about it now. The hair's standing up on my arms. I'm thinking, man, it's not going to get much better than this. I'm playing Shadow Creek with Steve Wynn and Sig Rogich and the President of the United States, and the Thunderbirds just made a pass right over our head. And I had a 6-iron left to the green, and I must have hit 6 inches behind the ball. I left it. I couldn't get my stuff together in time to hit the shot to the green. He laughed, but when he looked and saw him coming over, he said, Jack, he said, I don't miss much about the presidency, but I miss those guys. And as you know, he was shot down in World War II. There's famous footage of him being pulled out of the water. He was a 20 or 21-year-old pilot who was shot down and rescued out of the water in World War II. But another meaningful day, needless to say. I bet a lot of you don't know who this guy is. How many here know who Jackson T. Stevens is? How about none? Surprising. Jackson T. Stevens was the founder of, with his brother, of Stevens Inc., which is the largest investment banking company in America, not located on Wall Street. They're located in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it's huge. Jack Stevens took Walmart public and Tyson Chickens public. And by the time I met him, wonderful man, he was the chairman of the Masters golf tournament in Augusta, Georgia. And he was a member of the class of 47 out of Annapolis, the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis. And I did a book on that entire class. That class was full of superstars. So it was President Jimmy Carter, who I took my 8-year-old son to Georgia and interviewed him. He was wonderful. Stansfield Turner, who was the director of the CIA, Admiral Stockdale, who was a Medal of Honor winner, who Ross Perot put at the last minute on a vice presidential ticket in the 1992 presidential election. So in this class of 47, I met these amazing men. I spent a couple weeks at Annapolis, sat into classrooms with the midshipmen. It was an amazing experience. But I got very close to Jack Stevens, and he was just a marvelous man. How many watch the Masters every year? A bunch of you. He was the chairman, I think, from 2095 to maybe or 1995 to 2004. So he would sit in the Butler cabin. Jim Nance from CBS would be there. That bring in the winner who just won 20 minutes before and the low amateur, and they have this televised interview. And if you ever watch it, Jack Stevens was classic because he was this just deep Southern voice and kind of a hangdog look in his face. And every year I just get such a kick out of him because he'd sit in the interview and go, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the telecast of the 43rd Masters Golf Tournament." And I'd always think he's not going to make it through the interview. I'd like to thank CBS and Mr. Jim Nance. Once again, did a wonderful job. And so I'd seen this for years, and then I finally met him, and he was just exactly the same way. But he had had a couple strokes before I met him, and so he was slightly speech impaired, and he'd spent a lot of time in a wheelchair. But every time I'd see Jack Stevens, I could just hear the bones cracking. He'd pull himself out of his wheelchair and give me a big hug and kiss me on the cheek for doing the book on his great class from Annapolis of 1947. So he had been invited down in his late 30s. He's already a multimillionaire out of Arkansas. He gets invited to Augusta National to a cocktail party. There's only one reason you get invited to a cocktail party at Augusta National. That's for the other members to size you up and decide whether you're club material, whether you could fit in with the members at Augusta National. So when he goes to this cocktail party, Jack was a lifelong smoker. And he said, as he told me, he said, I was in there, I had a couple beverages and I was in there for maybe 30, 35 minutes. I needed a smoke. And I got the feeling that, this was a little too uppity for me, even though he was probably worth 300 million at the time. He just felt like maybe this wasn't a good fit for him. So he said, so I went out on the patio of the clubhouse and I'm smoking a cigarette. And I'm starting to think, I'm just going to go to the parking lot. It's been nice, but I'm out of here. And there was a man sitting on a bench on the veranda there. And as he walked by, the man said, "Aren't you Jackson T. Stevens from Murfreesboro, Arkansas?" And Jack said, "Well, yes, sir, I am." He goes, "Sit down here a minute. Where are you going?" And Jack said, "Well, it's been a long night. I'm just thinking I'm going to head home." And the guy goes, No, please sit down here. I got to ask you something. I heard you're a Masters bridge player. My bridge partner died about a year ago, and I need a new partner to play cards with." And Jack thought, well, that's kind of an unusual request that he would even know this. And they talked for about 5 minutes. And Jack finally said, "You're nice enough to know my name. Sir, what is your name?" And the man said, "My name is Bobby Jones." I don't know if you play golf or not. He's one of the few Americans to ever have a ticker tape parade down, Fifth Avenue in New York, the original winner of the Grand Slam of golf and considered really the father of American golf. And Bobby Jones, with Clifford Roberts, created and built Augusta National Golf Course. And he became a lifelong friend of Jack Stevens. And when I was working on the Annapolis book, I spent days in the Stevens attic in his beautiful house on the Arkansas River, just an amazing house. And there were pictures all over that house of Bobby Jones and Clifford Roberts and various holes on the golf course. It was just amazing. One other quick digression. We're having lunch and we're being served by servants in white gloves in the dining room at Stevens' house. And I'm there with Craig Campbell, his nephew, and another man, Vernon Jordan, who was the head of the European Union. I mean, I was in tall cotton here. And we're having lunch and I'm looking at the paintings in this room and I'm thinking, wow. I remember saying to Vernon Weaver, not Vernon Jordan, I said to Vernon Weaver, those are great reproductions. You know, I recognize the Picasso and there's a Renoir and there's a Matisse. He goes, Jack, those are the original paintings. I said, Vernon, are you telling me if I get nervous eating this meatball and I flip it over my shoulder, I'm going to be on the front page of the New York Times tomorrow like Steve Wynn when he put his elbow through a Picasso? I didn't say that, but he said, how are those paintings here? There's $200 million of art in this room. He said, well, you know, Jack sponsors the Arkansas Museum of Classic Art. And when they recirculate the paintings, the ones that aren't on display there, they bring them here for a while and he gets tired of them and then they move them on. I thought, man, that's real wealth. That is real wealth right there. All right. Oh, shoot. No, okay, I got them all. So now here's kind of the star of the day, as odd as that expression might be. How many in the room have ever heard the name Jimmy Shagra? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, more than I thought. In the 1970s, am I okay in time? I do run long. A few minutes. Okay, I'll keep it short. I met him in 2006 after 23 and a half years in the federal penitentiary for drug smuggling, tax evasion, money laundering, all the above. And among other crimes he was indicted for, but actually acquitted for, was the murder of a federal judge. The only time in American history a federal judge has ever been assassinated. And the convicted gunman was Charles Harrelson, who happens to be the father of Woody Harrelson. It's the most amazing Las Vegas crime story that's never been told in any kind of depth or detail. And some partners and I bought the rights to the life story. I let it sit for a long time, but I brought it back to life about 1.5 years ago, and it will hopefully at the end of this year or early next year, you'll see it as a 7-part series on either Netflix or Amazon. The title is Due a Nickel. And due a nickel refers to a 5-year sentence in prison. Because one of the first things Jimmy told me when I interviewed him was, I said, why in the world would you smuggle marijuana, which is bulky and has branches and stickers? Why wouldn't you smuggle cocaine, which you can put $1 million in a suitcase? And he said in his gravelly voice, looking right, that's the day I met him on the right. That's him at an earlier time with Muhammad Ali, his wife, and a Caesars magician, house magician named Jimmy Grippo, who a lot of old timers know. But he said, Jack, if I got busted for marijuana in the 70s, I would do a nickel and be out in 2 years on good behavior. If I got caught with the powders, heroin, cocaine, something like that, I'd do 25 to life. And as soon as he said I'd do a nickel, it just stuck in my head, and that's the title of our series. And it's been a mountain of work. I've interviewed family members. By the way, last footnote, the attorney that got Jimmy acquitted of conspiring to murder the judge, although he almost certainly did it, was a name you might know, Oscar Goodman. And Oscar and I have given talks on this. And there he is in the middle. That's Oscar pre-beard, with Jimmy walking out of a San Antonio courthouse. That's his brother Joe Shagra behind. But Jimmy Shagra was not only the biggest marijuana smuggler in the world for 10 years, he was probably the biggest gambler on the Strip. at Caesars, the Sands, and the Horseshoe. He would win and lose $1 million on any given night. It was pretty crazy. And so that's been my latest all-consuming project. It's expensive. All of our investors are local guys. If anybody here wants to burn a quick million, you can find me. We have a little room for a couple more investors, but I'm not asking for money. I never did in the first place. People have heard about this and have come forward, but we hope to have it. It would be done now if it weren't for COVID, but it'll probably be finished at the end of the year and maybe released early in 2022. So questions or? Thank you so much. Yeah, sure.
I think we have 1 or 2 minutes, maybe for one or two questions. You just can't ask anything for which somebody could be indicted.
Anybody?
Anybody on the Zoom have a question?
Why did you
Apparently
do this,
not.
sorry. All right, thank you so
Okay.
much.
And we don't give away trinkets to put up.
Oh,
Sorry.
there is one. Okay.
So Jack, when you think about all the work that you've done so many great projects. What's the one that you always think about that was sort of like your best work ever?
I'm going to put Perry Thomas's book on the short list. There's probably 3 or 4 projects that jump out. This is certainly one. Yeah, no, don't go there. I've sold other screenplays to Hollywood, never seen one made. Just for those who don't know, Hollywood buys about 100 screenplays and makes like 3 of them. So selling one to Hollywood was a moment of celebration, but I've never yet gotten it over the finish line. This one will be finished and out next year. Even if we had to trim the budget a little bit, I've written all 7 episodes. So all the interviews have been done, and we have 20 hours of Jimmy Shagra on film, one-on-one interviews. So this one will get done. Hopefully it'll be on Netflix. If not, it'll be on some channel you can't get, no matter how hard you try.
We don't give our speakers a trinket to go on your bookshelf and gather dust. Instead, we buy a meal through the USO Community Service Program. And that's our Share What You Can award.
I like McDonald's. I
Mhm.
appreciate that.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
I think you can take your picture.
Oh. Is he gonna do it right here?
I think so. Jim, are you gonna? Jim,
Leave your mask on or off?
off is fine. So let's just hold this up
Oh.
there. Whoop, there we go. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was
You bet.
great.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Bye Zoomers. Have a great weekend.
Goodbye, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Hi, all.
Get your shots.